water, the beginning of life, and the soul of Bangladesh. Here, every dawn begins with the shimmer of rivers, and every dusk ends with their whispering flow. From the mighty Padma to the restless Jap, from the tranquil Meghna to the weary Bariganga. These rivers are the veins of the nation, carrying not just water, but dreams, memories, and 1,000 untold stories. For centuries, they have shaped our land and our lives, guiding civilizations, feeding generations, inspiring poets, and humbling kings. Yet today, these rivers are changing, once generous, now wounded, once eternal, now endangered. This is not just a story of water. It is a story of a people, their love, their loss, and their hope. Welcome to Untold Stories. Bangladeshi rivers and their impact. The land born of water, origins of a river nation background, gentle rain, distant thunder, classical Sarod music. To understand Bangladesh, you must first understand her rivers. Over 700 rivers crisscross this delta, the Ganges, the Brahmaputra, and the Meghna converging like threads of fate, weaving one of the most fertile lands on earth. Every drop of rain that falls in the Himalayas begins a long, sacred journey flowing through India, Nepal, Bhutan, and finally into Bangladesh. Here, the rivers slow down, spread out, and bless the land, creating the vast Bengal Delta, where the soil is rich, the crops are golden, and life seems eternal. For centuries, these rivers carried more than silt. They carried civilization. Villages grew by the banks, markets thrived on the shores, and travelers moved by boat, not road. The river was the road, the lifeline, the teacher, the mother. The rivers fed the rice fields, cooled the summers, and sang lullabies at night. They were worshipped, feared, and loved. Every flood was both a gift and a curse, a reminder that nature gives and nature takes. The people of the rivers lives entwined with water. In the villages of Chanpa Faradepa or Koragram, dawn breaks differently. Here, the river decides the rhythm of life. Meet Rahim, a fisherman whose father and grandfather fished before him. He knows every bend of the Meghna, every secret spot where Hilsa swims. But he also knows the pain of the dry season, when the water retreats and the nets come back empty. He says softly, the river is like a mother. Sometimes she feeds us, sometimes she tests us. In another corner, Amina, a farmer's wife, stands by the eroded banks of the Jap. Her house, her field, her childhood, all swallowed by the river over the years. Still, she plants again, rebuilds again, because giving up is not an option when your roots lie in the water. From fishermen to boatmen, from potters to weavers, millions depend on rivers for survival. They speak the language of the tides. They sing the songs of the monsoon. The Batiali songs, carried on evening winds, tell stories of longing, of loss, of love. Songs that belong to no one, yet belong to everyone who has ever stood by a riverbank and watched the current move away. The dual face of the river, beauty and destruction, but beauty often hides its sorrow. Every year, when the monsoon rains arrive, the rivers swell with power. They flood the plains, sweep through villages, and erase everything in their path. Homes crumble, fields drown, lives are lost. And when the water recedes, what remains is silence and the stubborn spirit of people who begin again. But the dry season brings a different pain. When the rivers shrink, boats sit idle. Farmers walk across cracked riverbeds, where once their children swam. This is the rhythm of survival. Flood and drought, abundance and absence. For centuries, the people have lived with the river's moods. But now, the moods are changing faster, fiercer, and more unforgiving than ever before. The wounds of modernization, pollution, and neglect. Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh. A city once surrounded by sparkling rivers, now stands beside water that has turned black. The Bariganga, once the heartbeat of trade and life, now carries industrial waste and toxic chemicals. Factories dump untreated dye and oil into her veins. Plastic floats where fish once swam. The river still flows, but barely breathes. It is not only the Tarag and Karnufule, all bear the same wounds, poisoned by progress, forgotten by policy. In our race to modernize, we have silenced the river's song. We built bridges, but not understanding. We built cities, but forgot the cost. The river that once carried life, now carries our waste, and with it, a quiet reminder that every action upstream finds its echo downstream. A history written in water from colonies to independence. The story of Bangladesh's rivers is also the story of power. During the British colonial period, rivers were seen as tools, channels to transport goods, resources, and profit. They dug canals, redirected flows, and built dams without understanding the delicate balance of the delta. After independence, the young nation inherited both a gift and a burden. The rivers still offered life, but managing them in a changing climate, with growing populations, became a struggle. Over the decades, political boundaries and upstream dams further reduced natural flow. Rivers that once roared with monsoon strength now whisper in the dry months. Yet, through all this, one truth remains. Bangladesh is a country that lives because of its rivers, and will die without them. The climate crisis, rising seas, sinking lands. In the southern coast, the rivers of the Sundarbans taste salt where they once drank fresh. Rising sea levels creep into the delta, turning farmland into wasteland. Every year, the rivers change course, eroding land, forcing families to move. There are villages that have moved 3 times, 4 times, even more, chasing safety that never lasts. Scientists say that by 2050, millions may be displaced, not by war, but by water. Climate refugees, people without a home, though their homeland remains underwater. But it is not only the people who suffer. Without flow, without care, without respect, even a river can die. And when a river dies, a piece of our soul dies with it. But even in despair, the river finds a way. Across Bangladesh, hope flows quietly. Young volunteers are cleaning the banks of the Berik. Fishermen's cooperatives are learning sustainable ways to fish. Communities are planting mangroves to protect their coasts. In Rajshahi, local efforts have revived once dead canals, turning dry beds into living streams again. And along the Meghna, schools teach children to protect water as they would protect their own homes. Every small act, a tree planted, a waste bag picked, a plastic bottle refused, becomes part of a larger current. Because hope, like water, begins with a single drop. Governments, scientists, and citizens are coming together to rediscover an ancient truth. The future, will the rivers remember us? When I gave you everything, my water, my fish, my beauty, my soil, what did you give me in return? What will our answer be? If we choose silence, the rivers will forget us. But if we act with love, with wisdom, with care, the rivers will remember. They will remember that we tried, that we listened, that we understood that saving a river is saving ourselves. Because the rivers of Bangladesh do not belong to one generation. They belong to time itself. At sunset, the river glows gold and silver dancing on its skin. A boat drifts, a fisherman sings. A child throws a pebble and watches the ripples spread. That ripple, that tiny movement, is what life is made of. One action touching another. The rivers of Bangladesh remind us that we are not separate from nature. We are nature. When we pollute the river, we poison ourselves. When we heal the river, we heal our own hearts.